Our next guests are going to discuss the pros and cons of buying and selling your home off the market. Please welcome back our Scripps Ranch correspondent, Scott Ryan, and his special guest, the partner and business owner of Synergy One Lending, Scott Bowman.
The Scotts are back. What's up?
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Scott Squared. Good stuff. Great to have you both back.
Thank you.
Here in our lounge set.
Yeah.
So, Bowman, I want to start with you.
Yes.
Because I noticed, the real estate market's done really well the last 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Let's be honest. We had a tough time, got through that, it's been ever since. What tends to happen when the market does really well is you see a lot of people who, got out of the business in the downturn, and they come back in the business. In the mortgage business, this is very dangerous because getting a mortgage is a complicated thing. It's very time sensitive. It is driving the transaction, so crucial. In your world, have you noticed lately that there's been more messes to clean up, potentially from, whether it be loan officers who are just subpar, or maybe it's just, or maybe it's even the big banks who are hiring people for, $12 an hour to come run mortgage loans for people. Have you noticed stuff like that picking up?
All of the above is what I would say on that. It is, really. Like you mentioned, the mortgage industry is a complex thing. It's not, I get kind of amused where people just go to the internet and they think they're going to pick a rate and pick a lender and it's going to be done. And there's so much more to it that there's probably 15 to 20 people that are involved with that process. And if the leader of that process is not effectively managing it, somewhere along the line it's gonna fall through. And whether it's incompetency, we'll say, or lack of knowledge, let's put it that way, maybe not incompetency, lack of knowledge with the loan officer, or with the large numbers of people that the larger institution of the banks have in place, it cannot effectively move through that process. So I 100% agree with you, all of them.
You're doing a lot to clean up?
A lot. I had a couple people call me in the last few days. Hey, I applied so-and-so, one of the larger entities, and I just found out now I can't get the financing and I got to close in 14 or 17 days. Are you able to help? And quickly put it together and do what we need to do and effectively get it done. So yeah, there is cleanup going on. So I think it's important that people identify up front that they're working with somebody that answers their phone, responds to the emails, takes charge, gets things done, and still gives them a competitive program and product along the way.
What's the best way for someone to sort of make that decision? If you're talking to someone you don't know, it seems like they know what they're doing. I mean, how would you figure that out if you were an
That's a good
average
question.
homeowner?
I think there's a few things that you can ask. I would try and call that loan officer 3 times and see if they answer the phone at least 2 of the 3. If you get voicemail 3 of your calls or 2 of your calls, that's not a good sign. Send them an email, see how quickly they respond to the email. Because the people that are on their game are going to be responding and on it. If it takes them a day to get back to you, to me that's a poor service sign. If they're not getting back to you in 2 or 3 hours, that's a red flag.
Can we try that with real estate agents too?
I would like to put that in play too. Yeah.
I always answer my phone. Nothing bothers me more. I tell you.
Yeah.
Text messages totally change that dynamic.
And then thirdly is, where is the operations site located? Is it where the loan officer is at, or is it in Arizona or East Coast or somewhere? Does the loan officer, who you're going to be your primary point of contact, have the ability to go in and talk to the underwriter, sit down, get things done, and then search them on the internet and look at some of the reviews and see what referrals have to say about it.
Proximity to the underwriter is huge.
Yeah.
Because that's at the end of the day, if you need to pull strings, that's how you're going to do it.
You got to be able to do it. You're not going to try and send an email to somebody in Arizona or Utah or something and get something done.
Yeah, okay, great stuff.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Straight from Captain Mortgage right here.
Yeah.
So, Scott Ryan, off-market properties, this has become a really big deal. I mean, it's almost become the way in San Diego with the low inventory situation that we have. But I'm curious, if I'm a home seller, should I consider, or what would be the way for me to maybe have my cake and eat it too, as far as having my home that I'm going to sell be off-market for a while and see if I can sell it that way? Would it benefit me?
I think it would. Every situation is different, obviously, but off-market properties have been a hot topic in Scripps Ranch. I mean, they've been selling left and right. I'm representing a buyer who is closing on Friday on a property that was off-market, and I've done several listings myself that way. And I think the one thing you got to remember is, as a seller, there's a lot of work that goes into selling a home, especially in Scripps Ranch, an area with a lot of families. You've got kids, you've got dogs, you've got cats, you've got all this thing. You need to stage your house and get it ready. And in order to do that, that takes a lot of time, work, and effort. A lot of my sellers might come to me and say, you know what, Scott, I'm relocating out of the area. I need to be out of my house in 30 days or in the next couple of months. And here's the price I'm looking to sell my house for. So would it be a great idea for me if you found a buyer off market, or if you knew another agent that had a buyer? I think it'd be great if you brought them by. I think also it helps a seller if they're going to buy another property, need that to find that replacement property. If they have a buyer secure, knowing that they're getting the price they want, they have time to go find a replacement property. And oh, by the way, we're 2 months away from the holidays. So if you're getting near in the holidays and you don't want to be that, and we talked about this the other day in the real estate debate, right? You don't want to be having a heart attack at Christmas with your equity, knowing, hey, what's going on? Like, why aren't buyers looking at my Christmas tree and they're staring at all the presents under the tree but not looking at my house, right? You don't want to be one of those sellers. But, if you can find that right buyer who was going to pay your price, it's a great idea to go ahead and sell it off market. The other side of the coin, some sellers are going to say, well, I want to expose my house to the open market and I want to get in the back of my mind, I did everything I could to get top dollar for my property. So everyone's going to have a different discussion based on the amount of equity and cash they need to get out of the property and what their overall feelings are on value.
Yeah, well, those things will always matter, right, when you're selling your home. And I think the real question is there a way to have your cake and eat it too? Could I, for example, right now, we're talking, it's mid-October.
Sure.
I want to sell my home, but I don't want to deal with it during the holidays. A lot of home sellers will say, after the holidays, we'll look at it. That's why we usually see inventory pick up in January.
Sure.
So, but if I say, hey, Scott, can you sell my house in January? Could you, between now and January, have that as a coming soon type deal?
Yeah.
Because other agents
absolutely.
are asking you, hey, Scott, do you have anything coming up in Scripps Ranch? Do you have anything coming up in Scripps Ranch? You could say, I got one coming up in January.
Yeah.
Here's what the specs are. That might help build demand, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. And the one thing you got to remember too is that it's important as a seller for you to go ahead and empower the agent to make sure that you sign, if you're not going to have it on the MLS, at least sign a full listing agreement with that agent, and you can sign an exclusion to hold it off of the MLS. But that'll empower that agent to use their agent-to-agent network and connections they have. I have so many great relationships with other agents in Scripps Ranch. So I can go to them, hey, I've got this great listing, I have a signed agreement, these are the specs, this is what the seller's looking for as far as price. Do you have anybody that's looking? Yeah, I got a buyer, but you know what, they're relocating, they're probably not gonna be ready for another month. But in the meantime, I'm out there networking with these agents trying to find a buyer for the seller. Not necessarily me wanting to double on the property, because that's not my main priority. My main priority is to help the seller get the property sold. But the agent-to-agent relationships, by empowering the agent with a full listing agreement to go sell that property off market for you, and maybe get lucky and find somebody during the holidays, is a great way to do it.
So not one of those deals where, hey, Scott, yeah, bring me a buyer, and then I'll sign, and then I'll list the property.
Usually what happens is you start calling the other agent and say, yeah, I met the seller, and the agent already knows the address, because that seller has probably already called 3 or 4 of the other top agents in Scripps Ranch, letting them know that their house is for sale. And then it becomes, everyone's trying to fight. Yeah.
That's the same one that was internet shopping for the rate.
Yeah, so if you want to sell it off market, you need to do it the right way. Empower the agent, at least have the home in somewhat presentable condition, right? I mean, you don't want it to look like a bomb went off. So at least have the house in presentable condition. Maybe the agent wants to do some marketing. You don't have to put it all over the internet, but social media is a great way to post off-market listings. And it's important, again, to have that exclusionary agreement signed as well from the MLS, because the DRE can come after you if you don't have that signed.
So they have to say, hey, I don't want my property
Correct.
put on the MLS.
Correct.
So they would sign the agreement with you, say, okay, Scott, we're going to sign this. We're going to say, hey, we want to list it on the MLS in January.
Sure.
But in the meantime, here you go. We're committed. This is
Yeah.
what's going to happen. Now you are empowered to go
Yeah.
and say, all right, this is now my listing. It's going to be my listing. I can go market it
Yeah.
to other agents or maybe on social media as well. Create some buzz. Get people going, oh, there's one coming up. This is now a secret property.
Yeah.
Right? Because not everyone knows about it.
It's great too, because it makes I think in some ways it makes the seller feel like they have a unique product, and every buyer wants what other buyers want. So if they hear about a property that maybe is their dream home, it's the perfect fit, wouldn't it be great to eliminate the competition? Aren't they going to feel great about paying a seller his price, knowing that I don't have to deal with any other buyers in a multiple offer type of situation? And it also empowers them to make sure that they hire somebody like Scott to get the mortgage done so that they're not going to screw up that dream home process. You know, so it all kind of goes together, I think.
I think the overriding topic, really what this all falls under, is really service. Service, specialized service that he can provide for that off-market seller. And then the service on the, in my opinion, I drive home service when I'm trying to talk to borrowers looking for financing, because that's huge in the lending industry.
Yeah.
Rates are important. I'm not saying to just disregard them, but service in both of our industries, to me, makes life easier. Because you could close escrow 90 days down the road, lose all your hair, be so frustrated and so upset and so stressed out because of the entire process, or you could have a nice, clean system that's put together and still close escrow. And
Or you could not close escrow.
Or
90
you could not
days
close
from
escrow,
now
right.
Because someone else got the property because you're a buyer who couldn't perform.
exactly.
And that's the worst.
That's
case
right, because there's
scenario.
tight contract time frames that are involved when you put the offer together that if you don't adhere to them, the seller could easily kind of go, oh, I've got some other people in the backup, so I'm going to cancel this one and move on, right?
Yeah, we were going to sell it off market, but Scott, since this buyer fell through, let's go ahead and throw it on the MLS. I can easily see that happening. So definitely a good idea to have your ducks in a row. Guys, thank you so much for coming today.
Thanks for having us.
Captain Mortgage, Mr. Scripps Ranch. And stick around for more Smarter San Diego TV, where we guarantee to make you smarter than everyone else. Commercial free.